Let's check up on Epstein news.
The Justice Department now putting out a new statement and saying it could meet with Ghislaine Maxwell in the coming days. She is the longtime associate to the late and notorious sex offender. The Justice Department now saying, and it's a lengthy statement, but in the part of the statement saying this morning, if Ghislaine Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and the DOJ will hear what she has to say.
Wait, what? Now they're gonna talk to Ghislaine? You mean to tell me that nobody has ever thought to ask Ghislaine, Jeffrey's fucking Bonnie to his Clyde, his number two, if she knows anything about this whole Jeffrey and his friends on an island fucking kids thing? No? Wow. Well, it's ruined now. Let's play out the scenario, humor me, folks. Let's say the DOJ, Pam Bondi, and a bunch of lawyers walk in Ghislaine's cell and ask her if she knows anyone else apart from Jeffrey who fucked kids. And she goes, Trump. Do you think Pam wastes her on the spot? Look, what I'm getting at is that the administration has lost all credibility on this, which makes their search for answers from Ghislaine an extremely biased pursuit, since they're looking for specific answers, and certainly no answer that incriminates their boy King. And let's not even go to the he was molesting minors with his buddy Jeffrey level. Would Ghislaine even be willing to admit that Trump knew his buddy Jeffrey was sexually abusing minors and gave zero shits about it? Something which he has almost admitted to in public. I sincerely doubt it, which makes this whole thing a pathetic spectacle to assuage the base, far removed from any honest attempt at finding the truth. Next Epstein news.
Hi, I'm Diane Macedo. We have breaking news. An oversight committee just approved a motion to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell to testify before Congress. What's the latest there, and what are lawmakers really calling for here?
Yeah, this motion to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell was approved in a subcommittee of the House Oversight Committee. It was brought forward by Tim Burchett, and it got the Republicans on that panel's support.
Wow, renegade Republicans on the loose. Burchett told Axios that he did not consult the boy King before calling on the committee to subpoena Maxwell. He admitted that he knows he would receive blowback, but stated he's gonna be answering to his creator on this one. Well done, Tim. Of course, as you can imagine, this put Trump and the Republican leadership on full red alert, with Johnson, the Speaker of the House, deciding that the best way to stop this, and the Democrats and Thomas Massie constantly trying to bring votes on releasing the files, was just to shut this whole thing down.
Look, the House is at a standstill right now. House leadership is sending the House home a day early, and they will not be returning until September for their August recess. Leadership is hoping that delaying floor time is going to help slow down the temperatures here, because Republicans are divided on this issue.
Look, let's slow down the temperature here until we make sure Ghislaine is willing to testify that Donald Trump has never seen an underage girl in his life, okay? Which leads us to the boy King himself, who, sensing the danger in the water growing, decided to go with his ultimate distraction yet. Boys and girls, why are you still talking about a guy who died 6 years ago? Let's talk instead about Obama and the Steele dossier. That's definitely topical.
Do you support the Justice Department seeking a new interview with Ghislaine Maxwell? Did you urge the Attorney General to see one?
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Meet her?
Your Deputy Attorney General has reached out to Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney asking for a new interview.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do, yeah. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold.
Oh my God, they caught Cold Obama. Somebody warm him up.
President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him?
No, dude, never heard of him. By the way, he rambled on about this for the next 8 fucking minutes. Don't believe me? Enjoy.
Is they caught President Obama absolutely cold. Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, going up all the way going up to 2020, the election, and they tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, we called Hillary Clinton and said, you know what, let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. Right? Let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. Some people say, oh, you know, group, it's not even, it's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed, papers came right out of their office, they said anything could be highly classified. Well, highly classified has been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go. Can I ask you about well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it, and Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in the room. Yeah, this is much more beautiful than it was then. That's okay. And nice pictures of it. They came out of the walls. They were there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We had the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. There's people in the room putting it here, but I do. And you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people, it was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press his entire life. That's the way they. Look, he's guilty. It's not a question. You're not to say, let's give it time. Is there? He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what Kelsey told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from Hillary Clinton. Took his $3 bill. Hillary Clinton and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write a report that was a total fake report. It took 2 years to figure that out. But it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up fiction. And they used that. The one thing they weren't able to do was, and probably the only thing I respect about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. All lies, all fabrication, all admitted. An admitted fraud. She paid $12 million to the Democrats for that report to a West guy named Christopher Steele. He wrote a phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election. And I'll tell you what, I talk about all the time, the fake news have editors, but in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said, we don't believe it. And it was only after, substantially, like a month and a half after the election, that it got printed, and it was a big risk, it was just like a bang, nothing, because the election had ended. If that report had gotten published by the New York Times or something, and I respect the Times for maybe only this, because they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper. A crooked, corrupt paper. For this one moment, they said this is bullshit. We can't do this. And neither could any other paper. Wall Street Journal's a lousy paper, very, very dishonest paper. As you see, I'm suing them for a lot of money. They do things very bad. It's really, it's got a nice name, but it's really, in my opinion, it's a terrible paper, and it can be corrupt. But just so you know, they didn't take the Steele report. It was the dossier. Remember the dossier? Called it the fake news dossier. The news wouldn't publish it. And I'm amazed. They had 2.5 months. It was finished. 2.5 months. That was supposed to be what was going to happen. And it got published a couple of months after the election. And frankly, nobody cared too much about it. But that was a big thing. You know, we caught Hillary Clinton. We caught Barack Hussein Obama. They're the ones, and then you have many, many people under them. Susan Rice. They're all there. The names are all there. And I guess they figured they could put this in classified information, and nobody will ever see it again. But it doesn't work that way. It's the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever read. So you want to take a look at that and stop talking about nonsense, because this is fixed up. Never has a thing like this happened in the history of our country. And by the way, it morphed into the 2020 race, and the 2020 race was rigged. It was a rigged election, and because it was rigged, we have millions of people in our country. We had inflation. We solved the inflation problem, but millions and millions of people came into our country because of that. And the people that shouldn't. People from gangs and from jails and from mental institutions. People who don't want to country, people who are getting out, dangerous people. 11,888 murders. Many of them, 50%, more than 50%, murdered more than one person. I hate to say this with such distinguished, but you know, they asked me a question. They can answer that question. No, Barack Hussein Obama is the ringleader. Hillary Clinton was right there with him, and so was Sleepy Joe Biden. And so was the rest of them. Comey, Clapper, the whole group. And they tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And then they did rig the election in 2020. And then because I knew I won that election by a lot, I did it the third time, and I won it last night. Every swing state won the popular. But I won that all the same way in 2020. And look at the damage that was caused.
Wow, he seems determined to make this a thing.
This was treason. This was every word you can think of.
Okay, Donnie, give us your best word then.
This is like proof, irrefutable proof, that Obama was seditious.
Obama, he was seditious. Tried to sedate me once, didn't work. I drink 50 cokes a day. Seditious O, that's what I call him. So why is Trump so hell-bent on making Seditious O a thing? Well, the fire hose of stories of his less than stellar adventures with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein show no sign of abating, even after he sued the Wall Street Journal for snitching on his doodles, with the New York Times now reporting that in 1992, George Horonay, a Florida-based businessman, of course his name Horonay, had organized at Mar-a-Lago a calendar girl competition involving 24 young women, where Trump had promised Mr. Horney that he'd have a full deck of VIPs and industry people waiting for the girls. But instead, there was just one pedophile. Oopsie. Then the Wall Street Journal, just to stick the knife in, reported that Pam Bondi had informed the president back in May that his name was indeed in the files, along with hundreds of other high-profile figures. Now that does sound seditious.